They said it was about saving the wolves, about restoring what had been lost. But you don't build a $1 billion resurrection engine because you miss an apex predator. You build it because you believe you can do better than evolution, because you think nature got it wrong, and because you believe that with the right genes, the right edits, and the right ideology, you can replace the world with something cleaner, smarter, and under control. This article isn't about wolves, it's about the people who built them in a lab and what else they're building. At the center of this story is George Church, co-founder of Colossal Biosciences and the philosopher engineer of a new biological order. Church is no fringe crackpot. He's a Harvard geneticist, a pioneer of genome sequencing, and a true believer in the editability of life. He doesn't just tolerate transhumanist ideas, he builds them. In talk after talk, interview after interview, Church lays out a genetic wish list. Longer lives, enhanced brains, virus-proof humans. He once proposed altering embryos to eliminate all known viral receptors. His tone is casual, his ambition anything but. When asked if such things are ethical, Church suggests we don't need red lines, we need algorithms. Let the engineers decide. Ethics is just another system to optimize. In 2019, Church unveiled a project that made his value system impossible to ignore, a DNA-based dating app designed to match couples based on genetic compatibility. The goal? To eliminate hereditary disease by preventing certain combinations of genes from being passed on. Church framed it as compassionate science. Critics called it what it was: eugenics, slickly rebranded for the 21st century. The app, named DigiD8, was denounced by ethicists as selective breeding wrapped in startup culture. One reviewer said it sounded like something only a Nazi could love. Church insisted his intentions were good, but this isn't about intent. It's about worldview. And Church's worldview is clear. Some genes are worth propagating, others are not. It's no accident, then, that Church accepted money and personal meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire sex trafficker and self-styled genetic messiah. Epstein was obsessed with heredity. He talked openly about seeding the human race with his DNA. He hosted dinners with scientists who believed in improving humanity through genetic engineering. George Church was at those dinners. He met Epstein after Epstein's conviction. He took his funding, and when the truth came out, Church apologized, not for the ideas, but for the optics. Nerd tunnel vision, he said, as if proximity to a modern-day eugenicist was just a workflow error. Epstein's beliefs weren't anomalies. They were amplified versions of a common thread running through modern biotech, the belief that human evolution is improvable and that those with the tools should decide how it proceeds. This isn't about whether transhumanism is bad. It's not. We're already transhuman every time we use a cell phone, wear glasses, or take medication. The problem isn't the enhancement, it's who controls it. Transhumanism in the hands of decentralists is just evolution with options. But in the hands of billionaires, institutions, and gene-curating elites, it becomes something else: biological authoritarianism. This is where Colossal Biosciences enters the scene, not as a conservation company, but as a techno-ideological front. Colossal doesn't bring back animals, it builds new ones, then brands them as revivals. The dire wolf, it's not a clone, it's a Frankenwolf, assembled from gray wolf DNA, patched with 20 gene edits, and born from a dog via C-section, and every edit was a choice, a design, a judgment about which traits were worth saving and which were not. The resurrection was never about the past. It was about a future built from curated genetics, engineered to be more profitable, more manageable, and more compliant with the worldview of its creators. Colossal's language betrays this ideology. Ben Lamb, the company's CEO, says de-extinction is a moral obligation. Altacharo, their bioethics advisor, says humans have a duty to steward the genome for future generations. Bridget von Holt called the dire wolf pups the start of a better, more habitable world. This isn't humility, it's technocratic messianism. It's the belief that biology is broken and that it's our job to fix it, not through ecology or restraint, but through genetic intervention. When they say restore, they mean improve. When they say protect biodiversity, they mean decide which genes get to exist. This isn't about conservation. This is evolution by committee, chaired by engineers with optimization spreadsheets. The same people designing woolly mammoths to refreeze the tundra are also designing the tools to edit anything with a genome. And if you think the line stops at animals, you haven't been paying attention. George Church has already proposed editing human embryos to be virus-proof. He's floated the idea of reviving Neanderthals. He's written that any cell can be reprogrammed to do almost anything. The only reason Colossal isn't doing this with humans is because Harvard's license says they can't. For now, let's be very clear. This is not old school eugenics. It's not about race or nationalism or forced sterilization. It's about selective genomic design driven by profit, ideology, and a belief in the superiority of engineered traits. It's tech bro eugenics, the kind you can pitch at a TED Talk, fund with venture capital, and wrap in climate virtue. They call it species restoration. They call it resilience. They call it unlocking evolutionary potential. But all of it rests on one idea. Some DNA is better than others, and it's our job to decide which ones win. The proof is in their own strategy. Colossal isn't cloning extinct animals. It's designing proxies with traits they believe are beneficial. Bigger, stronger, whiter, colder. The mammoth isn't coming back. It's being rebuilt from elephants with mammoth genes added in. The dire wolf isn't reappearing. It's being reskinned from gray wolves with behavioral edits. Every move is a value-laden choice masquerading as science. It's not about what was. It's about what they believe should be. This ideology isn't confined to Colossal. It runs through the entire synthetic biology movement. Stuart Brand, founder of Revive and Restore, famously said, "We are as gods, and we have to get good at it." That isn't humility. That's a manifesto. It's the belief that humanity should direct the future of life on Earth through deliberate design. And if that sounds eerily familiar, it should. It's the same belief that drove the early eugenics movement, different vocabulary, same control impulse. You'll hear defenders argue that this isn't the same, that using CRISPR to cure disease isn't the same as sterilizing the unfit, and they're right. But when you hear phrases like genetic rescue, optimized genomes, or biological enhancement, you're hearing the modern echo of eugenic logic. Just because it's voluntary or well-funded or designed in Silicon Valley instead of Berlin doesn't mean it's not built on the same architecture of control, hierarchy, and engineering for fitness. This is what de-extinction is now. A controlled test run for designer biology sold as environmental progress. It's not just a way to bring back animals. It's a way to normalize the idea that life should be edited and that a small group of people should decide how. And once that's accepted, the pipeline is open, the edits scale, the tools transfer, and the ethical line dissolves. Because wolves were never the point, they were the prototype, the soft launch, the thing they could engineer, brand, and deliver without too much public pushback. Because who's going to protest bringing back a majestic apex predator? But the real plan isn't about wolves. It's about building the system that lets them decide what life is, and then owning the tools to enforce it. In the next article, we'll follow those tools through the patent system. We'll show you how ideology becomes law, how traits become intellectual property, and how life itself gets reduced to proprietary code. Because when eugenics meets CRISPR, and CRISPR meets capital, The result isn't just resurrection, it's ownership of biology. And you won't just be watching it, you'll be in it.